Hello and welcome to another episode of Leaders of Transformation. Today we're going to talk about transformation, which this podcast is all about. We're going to talk about transformation and how it actually applies to the entrepreneurial journey. You know, it's funny because we were talking about this just previously, Tracy and I, and talking about, everybody sees on Facebook how amazing it is. It's like, wow, you're so successful. You've got all these extraordinary things happening in your life, but none of that happens without first a transformation. As one of my friends says, there's always the breakdown before the breakthrough. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And we're going to talk a little bit about what it looks like on the other side. So I'm really excited to have with us here today, Tracy David. She is a founder, CEO, and visionary. She is the founder of multiple companies, currently working on little Acorn Shave Co. And we're going to talk about that. So ladies, tune in. We've got an amazing product that she's going to share with you that is revolutionary. And but as I said, she's also going to be sharing her story or background of some of the experiences she's been through. So Tracy, welcome to Leaders of Transformation. We're excited that you're here today.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here, and I'm very excited to be able to just have dialogue with you today and share some of our life stories together.
Yes. Well, we have no shortage of those.
It's true.
Thankfully. Well, so before we go any further, I want to remember to give a shout out to Darren Jacqueline. Darren has been on this podcast previously. We also did a Facebook Live. He's amazing, making a huge impact in the world. And Darren is actually how I met Tracy. It's funny how things happen because I introduced Darren to Tony Pennels. Through that, Darren had the opportunity to meet Isabel. Isabel knew Tracy. Isabel introduced Darren. It all goes back and forth around the circle, and here we are having this amazing conversation. So I am always so grateful for the people that I get to meet and the people that they connect me to and where that goes. And so thank you, Darren. You're amazing. Isabel, Tony, of course, all those people are totally amazing. And so there's no surprise why we're having this extraordinary conversation right now. So let me give you a little bit of background for those of you listening going, who is Tracy David? Let me give you a little background. I'll brag on her and then she can share more from there. So Tracy David has built several successful businesses, creating thousands of success stories. Her shocking journey of running marathons after her body was crushed in a car wreck became wheelchair bound is truly inspiring, and we're going to have her share a little bit of that. She continues to thrive in the face of adversity, even after enduring a betrayal that left her bankrupt and homeless. I know a little bit about betrayals in personal and business life. So that will be interesting to unpack. And she is an overcomer and encourager. Her latest creation, Little Acorn Shave Co., is making history with the introduction of Amora Light Touch razor for women, which inspires us to accept that we are enough and to own our beauty, and while elevating our shave experience, which we'll talk more about that. And proceeds from every purchase help support survivors of sex trafficking. So there's a deeper meaning of why she's doing this. It's not just building a company, which is going to make a lot of money, but it's so much more than that. We're going to talk about that. She's truly a leader of transformation. So I also want to thank you for tuning in. And I want to mention that if you haven't already done so, go to the Leaders of Transformation afterwards, leaderstransformation.com, and there are over 200 episodes of other amazing people that are doing extraordinary things in the world that you can connect with, that you can learn from, and we'd also love to hear your stories. And I say that a lot of times. I'll say, tell us your stories, and then people don't tell us their stories, and I don't know what's going on in the world unless you share it. So I would encourage you to do that. Send us a message. Tell us what you're up to. And also go on social media. We have a Facebook page where you can actually post and say, hey, here are some of the things that I'm up to and the impact that I'm able to make. And there may be other people in the community that are going to be interested in partnering up with you and or supporting what you're doing. And so I encourage you to take advantage of that. You can find us on Facebook at Leaders of Transformation. Of course, we're on all the other social media platforms as well. So coming back to Tracy. So Tracy, I packed a lot in there in your short little bio that I read. You've been on a journey. So tell us a little bit about your own journey and how that led you to where you are today.
You bet. Thank you. And I want to say back to you, Nicole, thank you for the work that you're doing, because I've spent quite a few hours listening to your podcast and the things that you're working on and the impact that you're having on the planet. And so as an entrepreneur and somebody that's being asked to share my story, I also want to just bounce it back to you and say that it would be really difficult for us to continue to endure some of the things that we are enduring without leaders like yourself that are pouring back into the community of entrepreneurs and leaders and moms and all kinds of dynamics that we have. And so I just want to honor you in that and tell you what a privilege it is for me to be a part of what you're doing and the impact that you're making.
Oh, thank you.
That kind of goes back to the team as well, right? So when you talk about Darren and Isabel and how we met together, really Nicole being invited in on one of our focus calls for Little Acorn, and that says a lot about the journey that we're all on. If you don't have the right people on the bus, if you don't have those people surrounding you to help support you when things get tough, it really makes it hard to endure through into that place of victory and overcoming. And so I just, I want to second the shout out to all of the team that we have, including Darren and Isabel and yourself, and the time that you've invested in us. So thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
So my story, yeah, a lot of craziness, and each one of us has this profound place of experience that brings us to where we're at in each day. And so for me, learning the concept of when you hear that it's not the circumstances that determine your success, the Jim Rohn, the famous response to it's how you respond, or Charles Swindoll, or whoever the big listener, the person that you're learning from is telling you. And we hear it over and over and over, and it's repeated to us. Hey, don't mind the circumstances. It's how you respond to it. And we really don't get a grasp of that until we get the opportunity to experience it ourselves. So along comes these circumstances. They're so painful. They're devastating at times. They literally could tear us apart and shred us into nothing. And yet how we respond to that circumstance determines whether or not we end up in a place further along the road with success and victory. And so I think I've just had an ample amount of opportunity to continue to grow my own leadership skills, to continue to hone in on the mastery of response, because the circumstances continue to come our way. And depending on how we respond to that, not just the physical response, but the emotional and the spiritual response really does determine the life that we live. And so for me, I aspire to live a life that is full of peace and joy and abundance, instead of all of the things that are inclusive of circumstances that are less than ideal, right? So the stress and the pain and the anxiety and the depression and the loneliness that comes with the circumstances, those are inevitable. And it doesn't mean we don't experience them, but Nicole, it means that we learn how to move ourselves, shift ourselves into a position that says, I choose joy even though I'm being betrayed. And does it hurt? Yes.
Tough. That's tough for, it's great for people to say it. There's the cliches, like you said, it's like, it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond. Yeah, that sounds good. Until you're in that moment
right.
of, like you said, betrayal or something happening, and you're in that moment where now you get to choose. That's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, I remember a moment in my life where after this huge betrayal had happened, a little bit of that story, I had a business partner, and this was just one of the betrayals that led up to kind of a falling apart of my life. And I was working on my fourth business at the time, and it was going very well. And we were growing rapidly, probably more rapidly than we had anticipated. And so things got really chaotic and stressful. And in the midst of that, I learned that my business partner at the time was embezzling money from our company. In fact, he had embezzled $1.4 million from our company, and we were on the brink of bankruptcy, except I didn't know it. I was still dealing with training 1,000 reps across the nation and building our teams and launching our products and having all of the fun that I was having on the inside of things. And yet everything was falling apart on the outside and I didn't know it. And so when that happened, I remember distinctly sitting in my office at one point, looking out the window with tears in my eyes, literally broken, knowing that I was losing everything that I knew was my security up until that point, all of the income, all of the savings, the businesses that I had developed, the relationships, all of those things were falling apart. And yet looking out the window and being faced with that collision in that moment to say, what am I going to choose? Because having pain is a reality and I can give myself permission to experience the pain. And then what? And then what? And there was this sense of peace that literally just washed over me, Nicole, in this place of, I'm going to make it. I don't know how. I don't know the practicalities of it. I don't even know what the next step is other than I need to lift my foot and take the step. And as I did that, that's when the peace began to come in. And so I want to encourage those of you that are listening and watching today that wherever you're at, you don't have to even know what direction to take the step. It's just lifting your foot. And whatever that looks like to take a step somewhere, it does bring in the peace that we wonder, how am I ever going to get back to my normal? How am I ever going to get through this? And looking hindsight now on that, it was that turning point for me that was like, no matter what happens to me, I'm going to make it. I made a decision that I was going to make it, that I was going to choose to have some semblance of peace and order in my heart, even when the tornado was going on around me. And so finding a place of groundedness in that.
Well, there's so much in there, what you shared, talking about making the decision, choosing, the now what. This is one of my favorite questions. It's like, okay, I got all that. Yeah, that's all the stuff that's happening. Okay, so now what? I don't like it here. It's like the saying is, if you're in the wilderness, right, then, or in the desert, don't stay there. Either you got to go somewhere, because otherwise, if you're there, you'll just die. And I've certainly been there. So how do you, speaking to that idea of moving forward, and, you've talked about in the beginning, having an amazing team, being great, having great people around you, and having this experience with someone who you trusted, who you had no idea this was happening, sideswipes you. And it's just like, wow, how could you do that? And I know that I've had experiences like that in life where it's like, I'm just like baffled that you could even do this. And so how do you not get, how do you not get jaded? What did you do that allowed you to not get, I know, because I know it's very easy to get jaded, and that's how people are. And I'm going to protect myself from that ever happening again. And I'm not going to go into business. I'm not going to ever have another business partner. It's like the classic, right? Silent partners are never silent. Just not. So so talk a little bit about that experience.
It's a really great question. And the answer is not a popular one. It's the one that people don't want to hear, but I'm going to say it anyways, because it's the only thing that got me through it. And it's a universal principle that works 100% of the time. It never, ever fails if we choose to use it. And it's the principle of forgiveness. And it is so not fun. It's so hard.
Damn, I knew you were going to say that.
Right? Like you can feel the stirring in your heart. You're like, oh, no. She's going to give me an easy tool. No, I'm going to give you a tool that is, it's just difficult. And it's not a one-time shot either, right? And it's not like, okay, I forgive you. And then I'm going to move on and hold my breath about it. It literally was sometimes dozens of times during the day of choosing forgiveness, choosing it. And the reason I say that is because I was bound to that betrayal. I was the one that was impacted. This person wasn't impacted the way I was and was continuing to live his life in whatever aspect he needed to live it, and unbound by it. but I was the one that was getting stuck through it. And so I think this is a principle that is so universal, and most of us know about it, but we don't know the practicalities of how to actually exercise it on a regular basis. And so 3.5 years, and I say that not to discourage people, but because it was that deeply wound, that deep of a wound in my heart. It was deeper than even the divorce that I experienced and the abuse that I had endured. I mean, there were things, and maybe that was a compilation of all the things that happened in my heart that finally just broke my heart. And yet through forgiveness, I continued to stay in a place that I could gain a little bit of freedom every single time I chose that forgiveness. And I'm very careful with my words because I did choose it. I rarely felt it. I really felt like forgiving him. He didn't deserve it. But I chose to do it. And as I chose to do it, there was a day that I distinctly remember that it actually broke off of me. It actually was gone. Like I wasn't carrying the burden anymore. And it was years later. And the picture in my mind was I was pumping my gas at a gas station, and I turned around, and I saw a man who looked like this business partner of mine. And immediately, like in the past that would have happened, and I would have gotten high blood pressure and anxiety and fear and anger and frustration and been like, I don't know what to do. Am I going to go kill him? What am I going to do? And for the first time in having that, I didn't have all of those symptoms. I looked at this individual and I thought, I could actually today go over there and say hello, and not need to kill him and not need to cry. And so that's the practicality of it. That's the dirty part of the story that people don't really want to talk about. But the reality is it did finally come away from me. It was not a part of me anymore. And in that place, I could rebuild my life. I could rebuild my relationships. I could have new trust. I could have new team members. I could have partners. But in that interim, it's dicey. It is hard. And you have a hardness of heart that has to be healed.
Yeah. Well, and what I heard in there was freedom. So much freedom when you can get on the other side of this. And yeah, it's not that they deserve. I think that's where people struggle with forgiveness. My dad, I think he passed away a couple of years ago. And I think my dad had certain unforgiveness to himself for decisions that he had made, and to other people that had betrayed us in the past and betrayed him in the past. And so he had a hard time with that because he didn't feel that in particular this one person was worthy of being forgiven, and even himself. And I think that if we have unforgiveness towards others, there's also an unforgiveness towards ourselves. It's much deeper in that of we made decisions, and then questioning it's the trust of other people, but it's also trusting ourselves that, we actually allowed that, or we put ourselves in that position, or we made that decision to go into business with somebody. And so, it's this freedom that you get to experience as a result of that just makes it all worth it.
Yeah. I would agree. Yeah. And that's the next step in the journey, right? So once you're able to choose forgiveness of others, then you can actually see in the mirror where you're holding yourself in contempt, where you're holding yourself in a place of just unreasonable condemnation for not, I'm learning now just to retrust myself again and know that mistakes are inevitable. And so the demonstration of how I will behave when other people make mistakes is also the fruit of what I will be able to reap when I make a mistake, and I can treat myself that way. And I've noticed more and more as I am in that healing journey, how difficult it is for other people to forgive themselves. Right. So I might forgive them, but they don't forgive themselves, and we can help them work through that. And even in that place, when a person isn't forgiving themselves, I find that my ego wants to fight with them then. Like I keep stepping back into their unforgiveness, because now I get mad at them instead of, no, I already forgave you about this. Why am I mad at you? Oh, because you're mad at you. And so if we look at that introspectively in ourselves, if we find that everywhere we go, people are kind of irritated with us, it might be because we're irritated with ourselves.
Oh, that's good. That is really good. It's kind of like we teach people how to treat us.
For sure.
Based on who we're being. That is that's good. Well, I would love to shift gears a little bit here and talk about, because I know this is a basis for the company that you are now working on, self-love, knowing that you're enough, seeing the beauty in yourself. And so talk a little bit about how little Acorn Shave Co. came to be.
Yeah. So the experience of betrayal really afforded me the luxury of having an opportunity to rebuild my life and discover some of those deeply rooted places where I didn't value myself. And I became more self-aware of the places that I felt inadequate. And it was all of these successes that I had had up until that point, Nicole, were incredible things that the world was accolading me for and praising me for. And even the financial exchange was indicating that I was doing these amazing things. I was making more money than I knew what to do with, and I was young, and I was had a lot of influence and power. And that intersection of betrayal caused all of that to come crumbling. And when it came crumbling down and there was nothing left structurally of that, I needed to look at me. And what I discovered was I didn't think I was worth it. And all of those things were an effort for me to show and prove to myself and others that I was worthy of love and attention and time and money and all the things that I had acquired. And yet when those things were gone, I still didn't believe it about myself. And so it was a process of learning and getting mentoring and help to acknowledge that I had worth and value. And when I began to do that, and the freedom that came in my life, the peace that came in my life, the joy that came in my life was insatiable. I couldn't get enough of it. And I continued to just push into that so intensely that over the next 10 years, the rebuild of my life really was this pursuit of continuing to know more peace in my life and helping other people to experience that. So I spent the last decade building a coaching firm that was really the intention of that was to just help other entrepreneurs just like me who were high achievers, who were doing things above and beyond, and the world was accolading them for it, and yet they had a sense of lack in their heart. I was at a place in my career, the reason why I even started that business that I had that business partner with in the first place is because my first career that I had done was, it literally, I was in the top 2% of my company, and I could go on and on and on about all the great, amazing things I was doing, but I was crying myself to sleep at night thinking, if anybody figures me out, I'm done. Like, I'm a fraud. I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't think I'm worth it. And so that decade of building my coaching firm and working with other people who thought the same way, I could identify it now. I could see, wow, on the outside, it looks super shiny and pretty, and you're getting accolades and you're making a lot of money, but there's something missing, isn't there? And those people would come and we would work together through those things. And so the more I saw this, the more I saw the evidence of where these heart pieces were lacking in individuals and high achievers, I began to have a desire to want to do more to help specifically women. And the reason is because men and women process things differently. And men would still struggle with the feelings of inadequacy and unworthiness, but how they demonstrate it was completely different than women. We would get in our heads about it, and we would begin to self-talk this place of criticism that would sabotage the things we were working on. And I would see this over and over and over with my clients. And so I began to study neuroscience and how does neuroscience meet faith? And because not everybody can get a hold of something that is mysterious and untouchable and not tangible. They don't know how to enter into that place of faith. And so that's where neuroscience filled in those gaps. And it gave me a tangible thing to help people understand what was transpiring. And I began to teach people about how the speech center in our brains has total dominion over every muscle, nerve, and cell in our bodies. And so what that means is our words become the boss of us. And even when we are in these circumstances that are painful and hard and icky, we have the ability to actually rise above it by the words we speak. And it doesn't mean our feelings instantly follow. It just simply means that our body has to obey it until eventually our feelings follow. And so that leads us up to Little Acorn, because as I was helping my clients, I had gotten to the place where I had 3,000 testimonials of success transformation using these simple tools. And I thought, this is so amazing. I want more. I want more. And not just more because I want to build my coaching practice, but like I want every woman on the planet to know what it feels like to be able to have some sense of control over her life by entering into the positive truth of who she is. And it's as simple as speaking a few words. Like, it doesn't take 6 months of coaching to have a transformation. You can have instant transformation by using your words. So affirmations became my thing. They just became this simplicity that I was telling more people about. And as I was working with my coach, who's now my co-founder in the company, I was asking him, how do I reach more women? How do I tell more women about this? How do I get into the heads and the minds of these women who are amazing and incredible, and they're not living to their full potential? So it's very similar to an acorn. The whole inspiration of our story is that an acorn is small and it seems useless. It seems even annoying at times, and it gets dirty and crusty. But if it's put in the right place and nurtured, it has the potential to become a mighty oak tree. And we have used the mighty oak tree as a symbol for strength and fortitude and royalty and life-giving properties. And that's what we are as women. We are the oaks. We're meant to become oak trees, and yet we are stuck in this vision of ourselves that we're never going to become the oak tree. We feel like we're the acorn all the time. And so I wanted to be able to make a transition to help women. And I also knew that I couldn't, you don't need another exercise to do. You don't need another routine, something to add to your already busy life. You need something that's practical and easy in the midst of what you're already doing every day. And so I began to explore, well, what might that look like? And where are the most vulnerable places that we as women have? And so really the intersection of that was for me and the clients that I had worked with over the last 10 years, the most vulnerable place seemed to be in the bathroom, in the shower. We get naked, we get in the shower, we start to rehearse all of the things we don't like about our bodies, about ourselves, and that propels us into a place of feeling inadequate and unworthy. And like it's a pretty quick downhill slide. And we're reminded because we're actually dealing with our body in the shower, right? So we're washing our body, or we're shaving, or we're doing our hair. And so I thought, well, what would be an activity that I could intercept or ride on, in the sense of you're already doing that activity, but I could create an opportunity for you to shift that activity that you're already doing into something that could possibly transform your life. I could remind you to say something positive to yourself in the midst of this self-sabotaging criticism that you're having even in your thought process. And I had this picture of a razor riding into a woman's shower and singing words of affirmation over her while she didn't even realize it. So the water was washing over her. These words would wash over her, and her life would begin to transform almost covertly without a whole lot of effort put into that. And the conversation had started with my coach and I, and he had brought up the fact that Dollar Shave Club was being acquired for $1 billion. They were a 5-year-old company, and there was nothing for women. And how can they keep doing that? Like, everything is for men and nothing is for women. And honestly, when he first brought it up, I was like, why are you talking to me about shaving? I don't care about shaving. What are you doing? And yet the beauty of that is several weeks later, I had the opportunity to be at my family's for holidays, and they continue to tell this story for the last 30 years, Nicole. They tell this story about me. I'm 3 years old. I find an acorn on the ground, and my mom wants me to put it down because it's filthy and dirty and crusty, but I'm determined in my 3-year-old mind to keep this thing. So my mom turns around, and I just jam that acorn right up my nose as hard as I could. Lands me in the emergency room because they can't get this acorn out. And then they tell stories for the next 30 years about how I jam things in my nose. And I'm like, stop telling the story. And I'm complaining to my girlfriend about it. And she says, Tracy, you don't realize that is your story. That is your story. I'm like, how so? She said, you you have always seen the magic, the beauty, the treasure inside of that little acorn. You innately knew that the DNA nature, the cellular structure of that had the potential to become a mighty oak, even if you couldn't articulate it. And your entire life story has been about doing that for people. You see the mighty oak in them, you help nurture it, and you get them to the place where they're living it out. And of course, this is
Wow.
very affirmed, and like, that's an awesome way to look at that story, way better than the way I was looking at it.
How can I do it without shoving it up my nose? Yes.
Right. And so that was kind of the magical moment of the picture that I had with the razor in the shower and the affirming of women. And I thought, I can do this. I can do this. I can disrupt the beauty industry with the messaging that they're giving us that we're not enough unless we buy their products, which is not the truth. We buy their products because we want more. We want to feel better about ourselves, but we're already beautiful. And so I can put a lipstick on and feel more beautiful, but I also want women to know that without the lipstick, they're beautiful. And so shaving is the same thing. You don't have to shave to be beautiful, but we all know that, most of us, when we're clean shaven, we feel better. We feel more confident. So if that's a daily thing that you do, or a weekly or a monthly thing, whatever the activity is, if you're doing it and you feel better doing it, it should be a good experience, not a negative experience. And yet I have yet to meet a woman that tells me she loves shaving. So
yeah, it's funny that you say that, because when I was on that call with the focus group, I'm thinking, shaving. Okay. I can't say I've thought that much about it, but after the conversation, I did start thinking about it, and I'm in the shower and I'm like shaving my legs, and I'm going, wow, you know what? Yeah, this really does suck. And the razor is made for men and all these other things. And I was like, wow, what if there was a razor that was designed for women? Or, I'm actually looking forward to trying that razor now. But initially I was like, shaving, I just didn't quite get the importance of it, because I was thinking Dollar Shave Club, or I was thinking like, what, it's just one of those things. And it's interesting principle is that it's one of those things that we do that is a function of most of us that we feel is necessary. It's a necessary function, but it's not necessarily one of those things that oh, I get to shave today. I don't think guys even get to that point where they're like, oh, I get to shave today.
Right.
And when we talk about enjoying the moments and experiencing the richness of life and doing and having that, improving the quality of life, which is part of my mission, which is improving the quality of life for everyone, is taking those moments, and even things like shaving. That's amazing. And the fact that you correlated that to affirmations and being able to speak life into them, I think is really beautiful. There's so many coaches out there, that are talking about affirmations and gratitude. And here you are, you're taking that. And there's a great lesson for even people that are listening that have something that they want to share with the world, a message. And rather than it just be a knowledge product, you're now taking that knowledge product and connecting it to a tangible product, a tangible practice that we have in our daily life, as opposed to it being just something we think about. And interesting, what if we were to actually do that with some of the other practices and apply that?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's how it's when you buy a car and then you start to see all the other cars that are just like the car you bought. So now I'm noticing that there are some other beauty products out there that have thought about this, right? So you get a lip gloss, and on the side of the lip gloss, it says, I am beautiful, or I am capable. And so I see that it makes sense. And what we're wanting to do is just disrupt some of the typical mindset of women in an easy, non-disruptive way, right? So like you said, nobody's laid awake at night thinking about how to get a better shave. None of us have. In fact, what we've determined was that for men, shaving is kind of a rite of passage. It's a manly man thing. Like, you become a man when you start shaving. And so there's a rite of passage identity that goes along with that. For women, it really is viewed more as a chore, something we have to do, that we're required to do, or that we need to do. So the view has been different. And Yeah. And so there's a risk, right? There's a risk in the marketplace to come in with a new product that isn't already something that people love. And yet my main intention is to empower women, and to empower women in a way that they're already spending their money. They're already buying a product that is serving this purpose. And so why not have an elevated experience? What we discovered in the process of that is this horrific journey of 100 years of shaving with a man's razor. And how can that be? Because I am like everyone else. I just assumed that they've done the research and technology and the development, and the pink and the purple razors that Gillette's put out for us they spent $80 million on the Hydro Silk. Of course that's a woman's razor. Sorry, it's not. And they put more aloe strips on it and made it purple, and it's supposed to be for women. So our razor really is designed to have an elevated shave experience first and foremost. It's an innovative product. Great. Yay. Yay. We're super excited about it. Those people who want and love new products, they should get on board. And our target market really is that woman who says, I shave. Yes, I go to XYZ store and I buy my shaving products now, but I would love to buy from a brand who wants to empower me, help me, and agree with me and partner with me in the process of building my own confidence. I don't need to teach you. I don't need to train you. I simply need to remind you. You actually already know what to do. It's just a simplicity of reminding you to say something nice about yourself. And when you do, you feel way better and you're more confident. And then you become more like the oak tree that you were meant to be. And so to me, it's a messaging of the brand, and it's the ability to say, we want to stand out. And yes, we're competing with the big boys. We're absolutely ready to do it and make history with our innovation. And I want to stay rooted and grounded in the fact that along the way, the entire way, not only do I want to inspire women, but I want to stay true to my own mission and every day work on loving myself more. Because let's be honest, it's just hard. I don't know why it's so hard. We should look at ourselves and go, wow, I can look at you and be like, you're amazing. And this is why. I can say this, this, and this, and this, and this. I look at myself and go, this is where you need work. And so what if we could flip that? What if we could just teach and train ourselves through habit and regular practice of saying nice things to ourselves, that then those other edges that need to be polished would automatically happen. And
Yes.
Like, what would the world look like if we had a whole bunch of women who were walking around knowing that they were unstoppable? It would just be like so amazing, right? And so really that's the mission that we're on. And the mission really is a heart-centered mission to be a brand that speaks truth to people, that speaks truth to ourselves, that lives by example, that is designing our life instead of falling into default, that is moving into a place where other women want to be a part of it, not because we are better or have got it all figured out, but because they want to be with like-minded people who are also working on having more confidence in their life.
Yes, absolutely. More of that. Well,
Yeah.
and as we love ourselves, we also have then more to give to others, and we'll be less critical of others. But you're right. Oftentimes we'll take our weaknesses and compare them to other people's strengths. Oh, she's so amazing. I wish I was like her. And then what we're basically doing is negating the uniqueness of who we are and what we have to bring to the table. So absolutely. Well, so where are you at with this? I know you're in launch mode. In the next number of days, you're literally in this pre-order, and when you get enough orders, then you're ready to launch and take it to market in a big way. So tell us a little bit about where you're at in that journey.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for asking. So everything always takes longer than you think it's going to take. And so we're going on almost 2 years of development and engineering and prototyping. It is a huge ordeal. We literally are changing history. We're not just coming out with a pink little razor that's going to be nice and fluffy and you'll have a cute little package. We've actually created something completely new. And in that invention, in that innovation, we've had to go through the design process, go through the manufacturing process. And so all of that has been a journey in itself. Every obstacle, like climbing this mountain that's straight up. And I'm finding that personally, the journey as an entrepreneur is just tough. So I'm so grateful for my team. But in the process of that, we've landed where we're at today in this awesome place where we are literally weeks away from getting razors into the hands of women who have been waiting and waiting and waiting so patiently and excitedly to be able to participate in what we're doing. And so we've started a founders club, and the founders club, the purpose of this is to be able to help us get over that next hurdle, which really is proving the concept and saying, women do want something better. We do want a brand that does something different, and we're willing to participate in that. And so part of that is a marketing play, right? There's just no other way around it. And part of that is just us talking to people and telling the story, and you sharing the story, and you telling your sister and your mother and your daughters. And because it's kind of a story relatable business, right? It's not just a product. We're not just wanting to put a product out on the shelves of Target. We're an e-commerce online shave club, but we have a story and a meaning behind it. And so the Founders Club allows you to participate with us in this journey. And the purpose of that is to allow us to build up and earn our resources so that we can actually go into full production mode, meaning that we would build out all of the tooling and the dye molds, the injection molds that are needed to be able to actually create these products. And we're opening up the doors to the Founders Club for 2,000 special exclusive people that want to be a part of us launching and making history here. And what that looks like then is, in turn, of course, we'll reward that Founders Club member, because we know how difficult it is to penetrate a new marketplace, how to disrupt into this place where the primary three, Bic, Schick, and Gillette, have 80% of the marketplace. Like, how do we break into that? And so as a Founders Club member, you are going to be able to participate in that. But what you're going to get in return for that is an entire year of shaving supplies. So not just our new patent pending razor, the Amora, which is the Light Touch razor, but you're also going to get an all natural shave bar delivered to your door every other month, which will elevate your shave experience. We've curated this and made a private label shave bar that is fantastic and wonderful and glorious. And with that, we have an in-shower shave station. So it houses everything together in your shower in a nice compact way. So everything is where you need it, when you need it, in the shower, go figure, like not in the cupboard when you're ready for a new blade, but you can't find it. And of course, then the premium replacement cartridges. So that's an experience that we're providing, and we're going to give you an entire year of that experience for your investment into the Founders Club. But not only that, you're also going to get an additional limited edition Founders Club razor to start with. So we're prototyping them, and you will have this beautiful exclusive razor before everybody else gets it. And then when we get to our 2,000 members, we'll then go into full production and send out the full kits and the package the way it's supposed to be. And so we're super excited, because in essence, what we're doing is giving you way more than what a typical subscription is for being a part of that Founders Club. And really what it's saying is, I believe in women-owned businesses. I believe in women being empowered, and I want a good, cool product, an innovative product. Yeah, let me be a part of it. And hey, by the way, did I forget to tell you, we also support survivors of sex trafficking, meaning that we want to not just empower women like you and me, Nicole, but we want to empower women who have had circumstances in their life that they've not yet learned how to step out of, that they've been exploited, they've been abused, they've had violence. Think about the lack of affirmation in a woman's life who has experienced violence or sexual trauma or even trafficking, right? Like, they have zero grid work in their life for somebody speaking something positive over them. And what kind of breakthrough could we have in mentoring some of these women to begin to learn how to say something true about themselves? I think that all in all, it is a really fantastic time to be alive, to be able to experience breakthrough for people.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you are connecting it to a related mission. Actually just thinking about it, there's some people that I can connect it to that are actually in that space of supporting women who are coming out of sex trafficking, and have amazing, and actually we're in it.
Yeah.
and
Yep.
now are out of it and helping other people come out of it. I actually had Harmony Grillo on my podcast a number of months ago, maybe last year, I guess it was, and she was talking about their ministry, which is called I Am a Treasure. So I'll make some connections there as
Fantastic.
well. And but I love this idea of a founders club. So there's involvement, there's kind of like ownership of it.
Yeah.
And one of the things I have to say is that the amount of, so when you talked about how often you change your razors, remember that was one of the questions I had, was like, I don't know, and then I started thinking about it and was paying attention to it, to how my razor is working and how I go way over clearly in how many times I reuse my razors. So what you've got is, from a practical sense, it's a membership where you can have it delivered, replacements on a certain frequency, whatever works for you on that frequency, or I think it's once a month. And so you're taking this model of the membership and what's worked out there in the marketplace and applying it to this. And so before we finish, I want to make sure that people know how to find out about the Founders Club, how they find out about even just signing up if they just want to be a regular member when it's ready to launch.
Yeah.
Can you give us some links on?
Sure. Yep. So right now we have our sales page open at littleacornshave.co. So it's pretty simple, littleacornshave.co. And there's information about what we're doing and some different videos on there. And then it literally is just a one-page sales page. There's not a lot of complicated things in there. You click the button to get involved, or you just click the button to follow our story if you're not ready to get into the Founders Club. But most people are, how do I participate in this? The Founders Club is $150. And what that gives you, again.
So it's thousands of dollars. Yeah.
Yeah. So normally your subscription on the subscription model is $15 a month, and we will deliver to you every other month the amount of razors that would be logical. So a woman should change her blade every 5 to 7 shaves. Most of us.
Yeah, that was shocking to me.
Right. And it's an education process, so some of us will have to work into it, and that's okay too. We also know that women don't change as often because they're expensive. If I go and spend $28 on my cartridges, you better believe that I'm going to get a couple months out of each one, right? Oh no. So if you could actually change your blade out, if you shaved every day and you changed your blade out once a week, that would elevate your shave experience. And so, and not every woman shaves like that either. So we're aware of that. But the Founders Club is really giving you that experience for about $11 a month, really is what it comes out to. And you get the extra razor in the Founders Club limited edition. So it's kind of an opportunity for you to experience it, but also help support us, because we can't get to full production without raising the money. And of course, investors love our idea and they want to write the check once we get customers.
Right.
And so this serves the purpose for everyone involved, that it allows us to be able to move to the next step and to really continue to do it on our terms, and to be able to keep the brand message. Because as soon as we move into investment and giving away equity of our company, we then lose some of the privilege of being able to direct our brand message the way we want. And so, we would love your support. So those of you who have women in your life that you love, that they shave, this is a great Christmas present. I can get this in your hands probably by Christmas. And so thinking about what does that look like, right? So do you have a few women in your life that you could get into the Founders Club and they get this new innovation? And so, we would love support at littleacornshave.co. And for those of you who just want to follow us and see what we're doing, connect into our story, we will send you some video updates on what we've got going on and things that we're doing in the community so that you can stay involved. And of course, our social platforms, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of it, the same call, Little Acorn Shave Co. So pretty easy to find and connect with us. And we just are so grateful for the support that we've already seen. We've seen incredible feedback and participation in the Founders Club. And like I said, we're confidently expecting to be able to finish out that limited edition 2,000 orders in the next couple of weeks here.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, and we'll definitely make sure that everybody, I know lots of women, and we'll make sure that that gets out there, because it's not just an innovative product. Now, again, you're talking about a Christmas gift or holiday gift. And this is evergreen. So people who are going to be listening to it later, even just thinking about it as a gift item at any time of year, Mother's Day, later on, and so
Yeah.
forth. But it's more than just the innovative, here, this is a suggestion for your power of suggestion. Here's some here's some razors. They might take offense to that, but this is more about letting them know that they're beautiful and reminding them, giving them something that will remind them every day how beautiful they really are, and to elevate their shave experience. And having been on your focus group call and understanding what that actually means, people go like, elevate my shaving experience? How can I possibly, if you don't know any different, you don't know that what's possible. So I would encourage our listeners to go to your website and littleacornshave.co and listen to the story and look at the innovation and what that actually could mean from you from that standpoint, but then also looking at the story and the message behind it, which is to affirm women. What a great concept and a model for other women and people that are building businesses as well. So highly encourage it. And of course, Isabel, we've bragged on her.
So
Isabel's a genius when it comes to branding. So
Yes.
go take a look at it from that standpoint as well. And so Tracy, thank you so much for being here today and sharing a little bit about your journey, your struggle, and then the exciting things that have been birthed out of that and continue to be birthed out of that through this company.
Yes. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate the opportunity just to share a little bit more and to encourage other women. And I'm excited to build our tribe so that we can empower each other.
Absolutely. I look forward to that. And thank you to our listeners. I always say at the end of every conversation, every episode, I always say, leaders take action. The transformation doesn't happen with a whole bunch of knowledge. It happens when you take what you've learned and you apply it to your life. And so I encourage you to take something that you've heard. There's lots of things that Tracy has shared today. Personally, her own experience, having gone through struggles and having to consider forgiveness as a way to move beyond it, things like that. But also from the entrepreneurial standpoint, ideas, there's so much here, so much richness. And so I encourage you to take something that really spoke to you and apply it today. Because that's where the transformation happens. We encourage you to do that. We look forward to hearing your stories. You can find us on leadersoftransformation.com, on social media. Of course, you can search us, Leaders of Transformation. And we look forward to hearing your stories, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Leaders of Transformation real soon.